What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you week 11 of season 2 of the APA Little Cup Showdown League, and this week we are up against ZombieCaptains and his Victoria Victinis. And before I get into the battle, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, as it helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, on to the battle. Like I said, we are up against Zombie, and his team is composed of Timber, Snubbull, Tentacool, Woobat, Roggenrola, Charmander, Alolan Rattata, Shelmet, Sunkern, and Numel. And much like last week, we are not going to have a team builder because we already have clinched playoffs, and if there is any speed creeps that my opponents could potentially get information off of from me, I'd rather keep those secret, or maybe just like a really random set that might give my opponent inspiration. I'm pulling a jolt. I am completely pulling a jolt, and even though it's not necessarily like I spend a lot of time on these teams, if there's anything that my opponent can get, I'd rather, be that try-hard guy, and I'm admitting it, I'm just calling it like it is. I'd rather just not give them that, but also, because I have already clinched playoffs, and I've already clinched a pretty high seed in playoffs, my main MO for these last couple weeks is to get Bunnelby as many kills as possible to try to get it to climb up the MVP rankings. I believe it is at 16 right now. If I can get it to 20, that would be ideal. So that's only 2 kills per match, and considering my opponent's weakness to Return and Earthquake, that definitely seems like a very real possibility. So, I mean, if there's one thing that I've shown, it's that my competitive nature won't necessarily let me sack differential, or especially not sack the game to get Bunnelby more kills, but I don't know. We'll see what ends up being more important in the heat of the moment. You never know. I might end up sacking Amon or even the game just to get Bunnelby more kills. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into the battle. I mean, actually, one more thing. I'm really glad that he did not bring the Alolan Rattata, because that was a mon that I was very scared of, but I did have counterplay for. But at the same time, the mons that he did bring are very terrifying. So I'm going to end up leading off with my Sandygast, as that's a mon that I can just immediately get rocks up and pressure his team, as he leads with his Woobat. And thinking that the Woobat might try to set up turn 1, I'm going to go straight for the Rock Tomb, as he does go for the U-turn, and I mean, that just tells me that this Woobat is scarfed. I mean, if Woobat has U-turn, it has so many different sets that it could, well, not so many different sets, but basically, rarely will a Woobat run U-turn in my experience if it's not scarfed. And so, I mean, that tells me right off the bat that Woobat is scarfed, so that's one thing I have to keep in mind. As he brings in his Timber, I'm able to lower that thing's speed, so that's very nice, as I will be able to get up my rocks, as well as getting off a nice hit on the Timber as well. As you will see, with the -1 speed, I am able to outspeed. He goes for the Ice Punch. That is going to be an easy 2-hit KO, as my Earth Power will do a very solid chunk to his Timber, and he is able to knock me out with the Ice Punch. But what this does give me the opportunity to do is go immediately into my Cutie Fly and fire off a Moonblast. No matter what he switches into, nothing wants to take a Moonblast into another hit from Cutie Fly, as he goes into his Tentacool, and that reveals to be an offensive Tentacool, based on the fact that, first of all, Tentacool has really good Spidef, and Cutie Fly isn't the strongest overall, especially the fact that I am packing a Z-move and not a Life Orb. And so the fact that that did 30% meant that this is offensive Tentacool, but I still should be able to outspeed at the very least. So I had a couple things that I was thinking about. So if this Tentacool is scarfed and goes for Sludge Bomb, obviously my Cutie Fly will be knocked out, but that does give me the opportunity to go into my Adrenaline Orb Krogunk and set up on him, and set up a nasty plot to try to really punch through his team, because if I'm able to get my Adrenaline Orb active against the Snubbull, then that will put me in an amazing spot, because I will get a free +2, because Sludge Bomb won't be doing crap to me. I'll get that free +2, whatever he goes into. I mean, if he goes straight into Woobat, well then, good on him, but otherwise I'll be able to get up a sub on whatever he goes into. If he goes into his Snubbull, well then I'll be a little bit faster, and I can knock that thing out with Sludge Bomb. So basically, if he does knock me out with Sludge Bomb at this point, Krogunk is able to come in and put in a good amount of work against him, or at least really pressure his team hard. And if he does stay in and he's scarfed and rapid spins, well, then he gets rid of my rocks, but I kill him. And if he is not scarfed at all, my Cutie Fly will just be able to knock this thing out with the Z move, which I am going to go for right now, as he does turn out to be Scarf Rapid Spin, and I will be able to knock the thing out with Shattered Psyche. Yes, I blew my Z move a little bit early, but that doesn't really overall matter in the grand scheme of things, as he will go into his Woobat, I know that this thing is scarfed. I'm going to go into my Natu, take the hit. As he goes for Air Slash, that does a ton. And I'm like, whatever, I'll just go ahead, get some damage off with Shadow Ball, and revenge kill this thing with a quick attack from Bumblebee. But luckily for me, he misses, so my Natu will not go down in the process. I will be able to take out this Woobat before he takes me out, and that puts me in just an overall much better situation than had he hit, because I would have had to go into my Bumblebee and click Quick Attack, and then he would have been able to go into Roggenrola and potentially put in a ton of pressure on my team, which is something that I really would prefer he wasn't able to do. But as it stands, he missed Air Slash. I was able to KO that thing. Charmander is going to come in. I'm going to go for the Psychic, get a good amount of damage off on that thing, as he will go for the Flare Blitz and knock out my Natu. Now, this might seem like a very good chance to bring in Bumblebee and just get a free kill, but unfortunately my competitive nature took over. I went into Krabby and went for the Liquidation, after KOing the Charmander, gave him the least amount of free options, because I would have had to go for an Earthquake so that Roggenrola doesn't just come in for free, and if I'm locked into Earthquake, then suddenly his Snubble's able to come in, his Timber's able to come in, and just, yeah, I mean, competitive nature took over, and I made the better play instead of the Bumblebee kill grabbing play. But yeah, with Krabby in, he does go into his Snubble, and I'm just going to click Liquidation once again. Want to figure out what type of Snubble this is. That damage reveals that he is a very bulky Snubble, as he does go for the bulk up, and I'm just going to sack off my Cutie Fly. If he wanted to go for another bulk up, then I might have been able to KO him with a Moonblast or get a ton of damage off with Moonblast, but as it stands, he knocks me out. I'm able to go into my Krogunk and revenge kill that thing with a Sludge Bomb, and at this point, Krabby plus Bumblebee is going to be able to win the game because he goes into Roggenrola. I'm going to fire off a Vacuum Wave that actually does a crap ton to the Roggenrola as he goes for Earth Power, knocks out my Krogunk, and this was once again an opportunity to go into Bumblebee, but I didn't want to risk the fact that that return might not knock out the Roggenrola. Like, maybe there was something that I was missing. Like, I didn't even bother calcing it because I was like, nah, Roggenrola is probably bulky enough. Like, I kind of wish that I had calced at this point, because Timber, at this point, at 52%, should be knocked out by a return. But, again, I didn't bother calcing. I was just like, you know what? I just had to go with Krabby, and I just had to try to win the game. And also, if he gets a crit with his Timber, or his Timber's like a random banded set, but I know that it isn't. But I mean, like, basically, it was a guaranteed win if I went into Krabby, whereas I would have to go for some calcs if I went into Bumblebee, and you guys know I don't like putting in all that extra effort. So I just went with the guaranteed, super easy, more lazy way, going with Krabby and getting a couple more kills to win the game. And so we will move to 11-0, and we will have the chance to go for the undefeated record next week up against Slick Panther, so I'm really looking forward to that, as he will not be able to KO me with the combination of Drain Punch and Mach Punch. Krabby is just that freaking bulky, and we are going to win the game 2-0 and move to 11-0. So yeah, like I said, next week we will have the chance to get an undefeated record, and that is something that I've only done once in an NU league, and so, I mean, I haven't done it in a standard draft league, but to do that in my first season of Little Cup Draft would actually be really, really awesome. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you guys are as well. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.